Hi Booktube, this is Fian, and this is my first video, and I thought it would be fitting to make my first video the Bookish Beginnings, the new tag that Lauren from Reads and Daydreams just uploaded, which I think it will be fitting because it's about Bookish Beginnings, and it ends with a question that I guess I'll answer as my first question. Just seems to make sense to me. The last question basically is, why did you start YouTube? Tell us about it. So, or Booktube, sorry. I have been watching YouTube since 2007, 8 maybe. I've been watching Booktube like it's a religion since at least 3 years, like heavy watching. Yes, probably 5. And I've wanted to do it so bad. I love talking about books and I love reading books and I like the whole thing. But I feel so weird and I don't feel like I am interesting or that I read interesting books. So the Bookish Beginnings tag is about all the things sort of that the first time that you did this for reading or that for reading, just to see where people come from. I'm not so sure if my Bookish Beginnings tell you anything about me as a reader. First question is, what did you like to read as a child? And I think I like to read the same stuff that I do now. Sort of weird stuff. I like a bit of weird. And it doesn't matter how it's weird. Maybe the writing is weird, or maybe magical realism, or maybe weird people. But I need a bit of weird, or at least something that I'm absolutely not used to. So as a kid, I also read a lot of historical fiction. There are just a few famous I'm Dutch. So I read Dutch stuff when I was young, because that's my first language. I didn't really start learning English until I was 10, so before that there was only Dutch. There are some famous, well-known, good historical fiction authors for children in Holland, and I read those. And I also, my family loves someone called Annie M. G. Schmidt, who really kind of just writes the best stuff. Only a few things have been translated. I bought my English boyfriend one of the translated books and he took like a year to read it, but he says he likes it. I also try selling it to every customer in the bookshop. Those are kind of weird, usually sort of poetry, like stories about mostly people and cats. And I like that. I like that a lot. Also, I remember when I was about 9-ish, I went to the bookstore, local bookstore. We asked for a recommendation and the bookseller basically was like, I don't know, this has been getting a lot of stuff and it's quite good. And I think it was called Belladonna. I have it in Holland, not where I'm now. And I loved it. I don't know who it's by. I'm sorry. The second question is the first adult book you read, and I really don't know, because I am pretty sure I started reading adult books when I was 10-ish. I know that from a really, I guess, young age, I started reading what my mum recommended to me, and I guess I didn't get it, but I did read it, and I did really enjoy it. I think the first book I remember, like, really vividly reading that was not a children's book is a book by Arthur Japin, who is from my hometown actually, and he writes, I guess, historical fiction. This book has been translated. It's in English it's called In Lucia's Eyes, but in Dutch it's called Een Schitterend Gebrek, and that's basically romantic historical fiction. And I dig it. I haven't read it in ages, so I Don't know if I'd still recommend it, but at that time I really liked it. Yes. And then the third question I really struggle with, because the question is the first classic you read outside of like what you had to read for school. And we never really had to read books for school. We got to choose which ones we wanted to read. So there was never a classic I was forced to read. I am never sure if I read a classic because of school or because of myself and for school. I don't know. There are two English books that spring to mind, because for Dutch I have no idea. And those are Pride and Prejudice or Jane Eyre, and I don't know if I read one of those for school, or both, or neither, or which I read first. I just don't know. The fourth question is also really hard. All of these questions are really hard for me. And that's the first book that made you realise that you liked a genre or writing style, or something about, like, you wanted to read more of that sort of book. The first thing that comes to mind is A Secret History, because I remember reading that and being like, oh my god, this is actually such a good book. But also, like I said, the Belladonna, I remember reading that and being like, yes, mysterious, magical things set outside of my comfort zone or my world. So not in my country, not in my time, all of that, yes. The fifth question is basically a literary prize winner book that you read because you won a prize, and I can honestly say I have never done that before. I pick my books on basis of different things, I guess. The sixth question is first sort of translated fiction book you read, and as growing up Dutch, I am very sure that a lot of the books I read were translated. Not that we don't have any books of ourselves, we have plenty, but I think just because there are so many cultures around us and countries with different languages that influence the Netherlands as a country and a culture and a reading culture. I think there were so many books that I read before I was 12 that were translated that I don't know. I have no idea. The first thing that I knew at the time wasn't Dutch, and it was also my first attempt at some point, like I think fourth book or something, at reading in English. It didn't work that well, but I tried really hard, and by the last book I did manage. And that is Harry Potter. I had to read the translation because my English wasn't good enough. But around the fourth book, I think, my brother was reading them in English before they came out in Dutch, and then my dad. And I wanted to read them too, so I read them in English and I didn't fully understand. It wasn't like I completely didn't understand. It wasn't just me reading random words, but I didn't grasp the entire story. And that's it. That's all. Hi, I'm Fien. I'll be back. I will probably just do a what I read in August and July book video. Why did I say book? Maybe in the future I'll do some videos about myself, sort of who I am, what I do, why I read the books I read, and I hope some people might see this video. That would be nice. Maybe. I'll put some links in the description. If you want to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, I'll be happy to have you there. I'll be glad to hang out with you. And if you want to watch my next video, or even this one, that'd be cool. By the way, the tea I was drinking is in a witch mug from the Harry Potter Studios. It's amazing. It's purple on the inside. I don't really want to show you because there's tea in there. It's purple on the inside. It's the right weight, shape, size, thickness. It's amazing. And I'm drinking a Twinings peppermint tea, which is amazing as well. So, drink the same tea as me. Yay! I didn't slurp.